Humans are such delicate beings, Vexora remarked, her 6 eyes blinking in rapid sequence as she studied the containment chamber. Both physically and emotionally, added Commander Traz with a huff, his translucent skin rippling in quiet amusement. Indeed, they tear apart so easily when pressed, and their minds shift with the faintest disturbance, hardly efficient for a species claiming dominance. For nearly 3 lunar cycles, the research vessel Cosmic Inquiry had orbited Earth. What began as a standard observation mission had now shifted into something far more involved, into something far more intriguing when the High Council approved the capture of 5 human specimens for research. Each was housed in a separate containment unit, engineered to replicate their native environment while allowing uninterrupted surveillance. Subject 4 is exhibiting that water-leaking behavior again, noted junior researcher Plex, gesturing with a tentacle toward one of the monitor screens. Vexora drifted across the control room to examine. Subject 4, identified by Earth, records as Eliza Morgan, sat curled in the corner of her enclosure, clear liquid flowing from her visual organs. Fascinating, Vexora murmured. Third occurrence this cycle, she noted, already filed in the emotional response database. Logged under sadness or possibly grief, Plex replied, tapping at the neural interface. Though I admit, Commander, I fail to see the evolutionary benefit of such a reaction. Commander Traz stepped closer, his tall, willowy frame casting a long shadow over the consoles. There is none. Obviously, these emotional displays are remnants, vestigial reactions from a more primitive stage of their evolution. The liquid secretion has no practical function. Perhaps it's a form of social signaling, Plex suggested. A remarkably inefficient one, Traz scoffed. Adequate, Vexora finished. She expanded the magnification further, focusing on the minute tremors in Eliza's jawline. The human's soil-toned skin caught the chamber's sterile light, her short-cropped hair, those curious keratin strands, casting faint shadows across her face. I propose initiating a direct interaction session, Vexora declared abruptly. Traz's translucent skin rippled in surprise. So soon? Protocol advises a minimum of 2 more cycles of passive observation before baseline data is sufficient, yielding coherent patterns. After a brief pause, Traz inclined his elongated head. Very well, prepare the translation matrices and ready the interaction chamber. But remember, senior researcher Vexora, these beings are unpredictable. Exercise due caution. Of course, Commander, Vexora replied, carefully concealing the surge of anticipation in her voice. This was precisely why she had enlisted in the Galactic Research Fleet, to unravel the galaxy's strangest enigmas. And humans, with their paradoxical tendencies and incomprehensible rituals, ranked high among the most baffling life forms she had ever encountered. The interaction chamber was a carefully calibrated neutral zone, engineered to ease the subject's tension while ensuring stringent containment protocols. Meet Eliza Morgan, Subject 4. The chamber had been meticulously designed to mimic typical human living spaces, complete with proportionate furnishings and illumination tuned to match their visual spectrum. Eliza Morgan stepped inside with measured caution, her gaze sweeping the room as if mapping potential dangers or escape paths. From behind the one-way observation membrane, Vexora tracked the human's quickened breathing and widened pupils. Your response, she dictated into the log, despite no direct provocation. Captivity alone is sufficient cause, interjected Plex, who had moved to stand beside her for the session. Even the non-sentient organisms we've examined display distress when confined, Vexora remarked, activating the translator before addressing the human. Greetings, Eliza Morgan. Please take a seat. We wish to communicate with you. The human flinched at the sound but obeyed, settling uneasily on the chair's edge. Who are you? Why am I here? Where are the others? So many questions, Vexora murmured to Plex, then returned her focus to the human. I am Senior Researcher Vexora of the Galactic Research Fleet. You are aboard our vessel for observation and study. The other human subjects are secure in their respective quarters. Subjects? Eliza's voice spiked. We are not subjects. We're people. You can't just abduct us. Your safety and comfort are prioritized, Vexora interjected, deeming the elevated volume unnecessary. This is solely a scientific mission. You will be returned to your world once our research concludes. And when will that be? Eliza pressed. Approximately 7 of your Earth months, Vexora replied without hesitation. The reaction was instantaneous and utterly fascinating. Eliza's face contorted, her skin flushing with increased blood flow. She stood up abruptly, hands clenched into what Vora recognized as a threatening posture. 7 months, 7 months. You can't keep me here for 7 months. I have a life, a job, people who will be looking for me. Your absence has been accounted for, Vexora explained calmly. We have left a simulacrum in your place. Your human associates will notice no difference. This information intended to assure seemed to have the opposite effect. Eliza began pacing the room, her respiratory rate increasing further. A fake me, you replaced me with some alien copy. This is insane. This is kidnapping. This is science. Vexora stated firmly, and your cooperation, while appreciated, is not strictly necessary. Plex shifted uncomfortably beside her. Perhaps a different approach. The subject appears distressed. Obviously, Vexora replied. That's precisely what I'm studying. The emotional fluctuations are remarkably rapid. Eliza stopped pacing and stared directly at where Vegora and Plex stood. Though the one-way membrane should have made that impossible, it was unnerving, as if the human could somehow sense their presence. I know you are watching me, Eliza said her voice suddenly calm. And I want you to listen carefully. Humans don't respond. First interaction between Eliza and the aliens, well, to being caged. Whatever you think you know about us, you are missing something fundamental. We don't just roll over and accept situations like this. Vexora recorded the statement with interest-threatening behavior noted. Though what a physically inferior species hopes to accomplish against our technology is puzzling, should we sedate her, asked Plex. Not yet. I want to see where this goes. Eliza was now standing perfectly still, a posture that their research indicated signified determination in humans. I want to speak to whoever's in charge, not just some researcher, your commander, captain. Whatever you call them, Vexora consulted the protocol manual through her neural link. There was no explicit prohibition against such a request. In fact, varied interaction patterns were encouraged to stimulate different responses. Very well, she decided. Commander Traz will join our next session. For now, do you require nutrition or rest? Eliza's shoulders slumped slightly, but her gaze remained intense. What I require is my freedom. But since that's apparently not on the menu, I will take some food and information. I want to know about you, your species, why you are really here. And I want to see the others. You have taken interesting demands, Vexora noted to Plex. The human attempts to establish control through information exchange. Should we comply, Plex asked. Vexora considered partially. Food will be provided if basic information about our research mission is permissible. Contact with other specimens will be considered at a later date. She relayed this to Eliza, who responded with a short, harsh sound. What their research identified as a laugh, though. It contained no apparent mirth. You know what's funny? Eliza said you think you are studying me, but I'm studying you right back. And so far, I'm not impressed. For advanced aliens, you're making some pretty basic mistakes. Elaborate, Vexora prompted, genuinely curious. You have taken me from my home, my family, my entire life, and replaced me with some copy. Then expect me to just calmly answer your questions. That's not how sentient beings work. Every moment I'm here, I'm thinking about escape, about fighting back, about surviving. You are not getting authentic responses. You are getting survival behavior. Vexora recorded this with great interest. Survival behavior versus authentic response. A distinction worth exploring. But Eliza sighed heavily. And that's exactly what. I mean, you are recording my explanation of why your research is flawed as more research. You are missing the point entirely, which is, Vexora asked that emotions aren't just some curious evolutionary leftover. They are central to who we are as humans. They drive everything we do, and right now mine are telling me that you have no idea what you have gotten yourselves into. With that cryptic statement, Eliza returned to her seat and fell silent, refusing to respond to further questions. Remarkably, stubborn creatures. Commander Traz remarked the following cycle as the research team reviewed the interaction recordings. Though I must admit this particular specimen shows greater cognitive complexity than anticipated. Vexora had spent the rest period analyzing Eliza's statements. Commander, I believe we should consider her suggestion to allow interaction between the human specimens. Their social nature means isolated responses may not represent typical behavior patterns. Pars's skin darkened with disapproval. That presents security concerns. 5 humans together could potentially coordinate some form of resistance. Resistance Plex made a dismissive gesture against our technology. What could they possibly do? It's not about capability, Vexora explained, surprised. 2 emotions aren't vestigial. They're central to who we are. Find herself defending the human's perspective. It's about psychological state. Eliza Morgan suggested that her current responses are. Suggest pairing Subject 4 with Subject 2. Their pre-abduction records show no prior connection, which gives us a clean baseline for relationship formation. Very well. Prepare the communal observation chamber for the next cycle. I will observe this interaction personally. Subject 2, designated Marcus Donovan in human records, was a physically imposing male with dark skin and a vocal pattern that resonated at a lower frequency than Eliza's. When the 2 humans were brought into the communal chamber, their initial reaction was to rush toward each other, though they were strangers. Another human, so thank God, Eliza exclaimed, stopping just short of physical contact. I'm Eliza. They took you too? Marcus nodded, his large frame tense. Marcus. Yeah, about 3 weeks ago, I think. Hard to keep track of time in here. There are others. At least 3 more from what? They told me, Eliza confirmed, then glanced toward the observation wall. They are watching us right now, probably recording everything. Let them. Marcus replied with a shrug. Not like we can stop them. Have they hurt you? Eliza shook her head. No physical harm. It's just tests, endless. Questions, observations, like we are lab rats. From the observation room, Vora watched with fascination as the 2 humans huddled together, voices lowered, despite knowing they were being monitored. Their behavior was shifting. Already Eliza's stress indicators had decreased by 14% merely from the presence of another human. They are forming an alliance, noted Commander. Traz, ace expected, yes, but observe the emotional regulation effect. Vexora pointed out. Subject 4 scored us all. Levels are dropping. Respiration normalizing simply from social contact. Their herd mentality, Traz said dismissively. Safety in numbers is a primitive evolutionary adaptation. Vexora wasn't so sure. There seemed to be something more complex happening, something their instruments could measure, but perhaps their understanding couldn't yet grasp. In the communal chamber, the conversation had turned to escape. We have to find a way out of here, Marcus was saying, back to Earth. I have been mapping what I can see of the ship during transports between rooms, Eliza replied. Not much to go on yet, but it's a start. They have clearly got superior technology, but every system has weaknesses. Vexora increased the audio sensitivity, intrigued by this futile but determined planning. Commander, she said, these escape discussions, should we intervene? Traz made a sound of amusement. Why let them plan? It's good mental exercise for them and valuable data for us. They have no actual chance of success. Lex, who had been monitoring the biometric feeds, suddenly straightened. Interesting. When discussing escape, both subjects show elevated endorphin levels despite the implausibility of success. Hope, Vexora murmured, another emotional state to catalog. Their attention was drawn back to the humans as the conversation shifted. What do you think they want from us? Marcus asked. Eliza's expression turned contemplative, understanding, supposedly, but they are. Introduction of Marcus. Subject 2 going about it all wrong. They keep treating emotions like some strange quirk, not realizing it's the core of everything. You have talked to them more than I have, Marcus said. What are they, like analytical detached? They look at me crying. Like it's some weird bodily function they can't figure out the purpose of. I don't think they have emotions the way we do. Ridiculous trash-uft. Of course we have emotional analogies. They are simply regulated and purposeful, not these wild, uncontrolled. Surge's Vexora kept her attention on the humans. There was something in Eliza's tone now, a resolve that hadn't been present before. We need to make them understand, Eliza was saying, not just for our sake, but for whoever comes after us. Because if they keep taking people like this eventually, they are going to take someone who doesn't just get sad or scared. They are going to take someone who gets angry, really angry. Marcus studied her face. You have a plan. It wasn't a question. And Eliza didn't treat it as one. She simply nodded, then glanced directly at the observation wall with an expression Vexora couldn't quite interpret. Yeah, Eliza said softly. I have a plan because there's something they need to learn about humans. Something important. What's that asked? Marcus. Eliza's lips curved upward, but the expression wasn't what their research classified as a smile. It was something else, something that, for reasons Vora couldn't articulate, sent an uncomfortable sensation rippling through her neural pathways. That we are not just emotional, Eliza said, still staring toward the hidden observers. We are dangerous when pushed too far, and they have been pushing since the moment they took us from our homes. Vexora felt an unexpected chill as she recorded this statement. For the first time, since the humans had been brought aboard, she wondered if perhaps Commander Traz's caution wasn't unwarranted after all. In the communal chamber, Eliza continued to stare toward them with that not-quite smile, as if she could see through the one-way membrane, as if she knew exactly what they were thinking, and for one irrational moment Vexora almost believed she could. The next 3 cycles passed with remarkable quietude. Eliza Morgan exhibited what Vexora classified as cooperative behavior, answering questions without resistance and participating willingly in cognitive. The beginning of Eliza's plan assessments. Subject 2. Marcus showed similar compliance. Commander TR was pleased with the development. See, the communal interaction was beneficial. Here marked during the daily research review, they have accepted their situation. Vexora wasn't convinced. The shift seems abrupt. Particularly for Subject 4, adaptation is a survival trait. Traz replied dismissively. These humans may be emotionally volatile, but they are not stupid. They have recognized the futility of resistance. Perhaps Vexora conceded, though something in her neural pathways tingled with unease. She replayed the footage from the previous cycle's observation session. Eliza had been almost pleasant, asking questions about alien physiology and technology with apparent curiosity. Nothing in her biometric readings indicated deception, and yet request permission to initiate a new testing protocol. Vexora said suddenly. Traz's sensory appendages twitched with surprise. What do you propose? A controlled emotional provocation sequence. Subject 4 claimed that our current methods are only eliciting survival behaviors, not authentic responses. I believe we need to push beyond baseline parameters. Interesting, Traz mused, but risky. What specific provocations do you suggest? Vexora had given this considerable thought, a simulated threat to Subject 2. Nothing that causes actual harm, but enough to trigger Subject 4's protective instincts. You believe she's formed an attachment to the male. Their social bonding was immediate and pronounced. Vexora confirmed humans form alliances quickly under stress. I want to observe how far that loyalty extends. Traz considered this. His translucent skin, rippling with deliberation, approved, but with safety protocols at maximum. These creatures are unpredictable. The provocation test was scheduled for the following cycle. Eliza and Marcus were brought. To the communal chamber, should become routine. But this time the scenario was carefully scripted. Good morning, Eliza. Marcus Vexora greeted through the communication system. Today, we would like to explore human stress responses in more detail. You want to hurt us? Eliza asked, her voice remarkably steady. Not you, Vexora clarified. In this session, you will observe while we conduct pain threshold testing on Subject 2. Marcus stiffened, but Eliza's hand on his arm seemed to steady him. Their silent communication was fascinating, a complex exchange conveyed through touch and eye contact. That wasn't part of the deal, Eliza said calmly. Vexora noted the phrasing with interest. There was no deal, Subject 4. You are research specimens. My name is Eliza, she replied. The same unnervingly calm tone. And yesterday you agreed that cooperation would be rewarded with humane treatment. This is humane by research standards, Vexora countered. No permanent damage will occur. Turned from his observation position. Commander Traz leaned forward. The provocation test goes wrong, his attention fully captured by the exchange. She's maintaining control, remarkably. Well, he noted, not the emotional outburst I expected. Wait for it, Vexora murmured. On cue, 2 medical drones entered the chamber, hovering toward Marcus with examination probes extended. Marcus backed away, looking to Eliza, who had not moved from her position. Eliza. There was uncertainty in his voice. It's okay, Marcus, she said softly. Remember what we talked about showing them the cryptic statement triggered warning signals in Vexora's analytical processes. Initiate. Restraint protocol, she ordered quickly. Too late. As the drones approached Marcus, Eliza moved with startling speed. She didn't attack the drones as expected. Instead, she dropped to the floor and removed a floor panel that should have been securely sealed. Security breach, Trash shouted. How did she? Eliza reached into the exposed circuitry and pulled. Alarms blared throughout the observation deck as the ship's systems registered the interference. Impossible, Plex gasped. She couldn't have mapped the neural circuitry of the ship, but somehow she had. The containment field around the communal chamber flickered and died. The medical drones dropped to the floor. Deactivated emergency containment TR ordered lockdown. All sectors. Vexora watched in stunned fascination as Eliza helped Marcus remove another floor panel. Commander, how could they have gained this knowledge of our systems? Known, but they won't get far. The secondary containment protocols. A ship-wide power fluctuation interrupted him. The lights dimmed. Momentarily before emergency systems engaged. What's happening? Demanded Traz. Vexora accessed the ship's diagnostic system, her neural pathways flooding with alarm as she processed the information. Sir, it appears that another alarm